Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at Save from BetBoom and his Rubik, specifically the first 15 minutes of the game, and I'm going to be teaching you guys about how to become a better position 4 player. This video is going to really look at range position 4 heroes that have some sort of nuke, and the reason why this nuke is important is it's going to allow you to secure the range creep, and we're going to talk about why that is so damn important in these lanes. Now this lane he's going to be playing is a pretty easy lane against any mage disruptor. If you mess up, you definitely can lose a lane, as Mana Burn plus Glimpse is a deadly combo, but let's talk about how they avoid this and play around it. Alright, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to let you guys know that I'm not only posting videos here on YouTube, I also frequently post videos on the website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, almost every single day I'm posting a new video to the Game League website. We're going to teach you guys in depth about how to get to the next level. So if you want to become absolutely broken and really take your game to the next level, I'm going to be able to help you, because sometimes the guides on YouTube, there's either not enough of them, they're not specific, or they're just tier lists, which I know you guys love, but at the end of the day, the Game League website is going to help you get to the next level. So click the link down below and sign up. So first, starting items, he's completely maxed out on trading. Rubik is a pretty decent trading hero at 58 damage, 5 armor, which is surprisingly high. 290 movement speed's not very good, but good attack range and a range creep secure. Rubik is definitely a solid laner. Fade Bolt is also just a really good ability at 14% damage reduction, so yeah, all in all, Rubik is definitely a pretty solid laner. His items are pretty important as well: 6 tangos, 2 mangoes, fairy fire, and 3 branches, all ending on, honestly, putting a lot of pressure on the lane, right? A lot of regen. Surprisingly, no blood grenade, which I actually thought would be good in this lane, and actually does end up losing them a kill to some extent, but let's get into it. Alright, so his job in this lane is to zone out the disruptor. The reason why is when you're playing against a melee carry, hitting a melee carry as a ranged support is okay sometimes, but typically not that good. And the reason why you don't usually want to do this is because as long as your matchup between you and the enemy position 5 is good, you should just trade with the support, because you're not going to pull creep aggro, and hitting a melee hero doesn't do nearly as much because they have built-in stout shield. So you'll see he's going to start the lane, sees that Husky is going to immediately move to the right, and so what does he do? He's going to mirror that. Does tank one hit from the melee creep or whatever, and he's going to start trading with the disruptor. The first thing he does is get off an auto attack, then another auto attack, and he's going to look at the range creep, right? His main goal here is to push Husky back and look for the range creep secure. He ends up doing kind of a weird play, at least in my opinion, as he nukes very, very early here, right? Doesn't even seem to wait much at all to nuke for the range. In fact, he just banks on Pure getting it. Pure does have much more damage than the Animage, but yeah, ends up getting a double Fade Bolt onto Yamsen on the Animage and Husky on the Disruptor. And when you're playing Rubik in specific, that's wonderful, right? These double Fade Bolts heavily decrease the enemy damage, as Disruptor loses, right? He loses 7 and AM loses 8. So it really does add up. And what this is going to allow him to do, right, securing the range creep like this, is it's going to force the AM under the tower. This is going to mean AM has to CS under tower, which is not that easy. And then the AM is also going to have to tank the wave a little bit, which is definitely not good for his game. From there, he's going to shift to the left side, and, you know, I think maybe Disruptor could have tried to glimpse here, but he wasn't able to get it off. And he's going to block the small camp with his body. After that, immediately, he's going to look for auto attacks. This mostly comes down to the fact that you just trade pretty well into the 2 armor Disruptor. Disruptor can try to sit under the tower and use the 3 tower armor to just be way tankier. And so the goal is, at least from my experience, is to try to hit them when they are away from the tower, which is why it's so important that they force the Animage to drag the creep wave under tower. Because once AM has to drag the wave under tower, the AM will then kill the creep wave very quickly, and the next wave will actually meet out of tower range. And once this happens, these lanes become significantly more playable, right? Because of the fact that the enemy lane does not get that bonus 3 armor and 1 HP regen, which makes a huge difference. From there, he's going to hit the AM only because of the fact that the Disruptor is not hitting him. The Rubik just has complete free reign to just hit this AM a little bit too much here, and with another Fade Bolt that ends up hitting the Disruptor and the AM again, they really cannot trade, right? They just simply do not have enough damage. So all in all, I think that the Nouns lane is misplaying a little bit with maybe how they're manipulating the creeps and maybe the way they're trading, but you can see that, I mean, to be fair, these Nouns guys are top level players, guys, right? Like, undoubtedly some of the best players in the world. And yet still, if you make the right plays, and he has yet to pull aggro with his auto attacks, by the way, I just want you guys to notice that. He hasn't pulled creep aggro a single time with his auto attacks. Only does it now. It's actually funny that I say that. and then he immediately pulls aggro. But he's looking for angles to just hit this AM and once again secure the range as he'll come in here. He doesn't do it right away, right? You can see once he's like, oh, okay, Pure's gonna get it for free. He doesn't force it, and he actually hasn't had to force it a single time. And the reason why that also can be good is situations like this. Because of the fact that he doesn't force it, and this is why this guy's so good, guys. Like, he doesn't force it here. A lot of players would panic, hit Fade Bolt. They'd be like, oh, I gotta scare it. That's my job. But he didn't need to, right? He didn't need to in this case. And because he holds it, Pure is actually able to fight back when he gets glimpsed, right? Because they glimpse, but he's got the Fade Bolt ready, and so immediately they can turn it around. From there, Save makes the really huge play to secure the Flag Bearer creep, which I would argue is much more important than actually securing range creeps. In fact, it most certainly is. It's triple the gold, right? And he's able to secure it with the Fade Bolt and continue to get really huge auto attacks off on to the Disruptor. Also, one thing to note is he's pretty good about eating tangos. I'm not going to say he's perfect. I do think in this clip here, he could have eaten it a little bit quicker. But at the end of the day, he's trying to get as many auto attacks as he can while they are in range. And so maybe he just didn't want to stop to eat a tango. But on the way out, he does eat a tango and make sure he's topped off. From there, one thing that BetBoom does better than other teams is dive. They've hidden their level 3 spike on Doom here, and they understand this. Save understands this, so he's going to play up with the Doom. A good glimpse from Husky does relieve a bit of the pressure, and I think honestly Husky should have just tried to man up here because the W on the Doom is running out, and I think they realize that, right? And so maybe you can fight, right? I guess with this massive wave coming in, you can't really trade into this wave, so I suppose there wasn't much of a great play as Save understands how Animage works, right? Which is if he burns all of your mana, don't panic and pop mangoes, just let yourself be out of mana. This AM hero trades incredibly poorly if you don't have mana. And so he just ignores the AM completely, bullies him out of lane, and then the AM gets forced into the jungle. They're able to even attempt to zone disrupt out of lane, and now the lane is just an absolute disaster. One thing that I do find a little bit cool about Save's gameplay, and this might seem like really nerdy to a lot of you guys, even though you are Dota players, it still might seem nerdy, but I do find that a lot of support players, even at the highest level right now, tend to rotate for runes almost no matter what. Right, and this is certainly a game where there is less priority on the runes because the enemy team has a Coddle, and Coddle often doesn't buy Bottle, and therefore there is less priority on rune. Maybe that's the reason why he doesn't go mid this game, just because of the fact that it's not as important. It's not that runes aren't important with Coddle, right? A hasted Coddle is still good, Arcane Coddle, even DD Coddle can rotate, so it's not that it's not important, but I think he also understands that the Doom AM matchup is a weird one where if you stay with the Doom, you can pressure, because AM is a hero that trades reasonably well one-on-one. He can at least burn your mana and put you in an awkward position where you can't pressure him with anything besides right clicks. However, AM can almost never man up into two heroes. It's very uncommon in a laning stage where he can man up into two heroes. As a nature of the hero, he has to auto attack 5-6 times to really get value. And so, yeah, you can see that they're just continuing to dive. He baits AM in a little bit here. I am surprised that Pure didn't pressure forward and try to kick this guy out. I do think that Pure could have walked forward a little bit earlier to pressure with the Scorch Earth. Maybe he just didn't want to dive, right? He's probably a little bit concerned about the level 6 Coddle, which is reasonable as they do end up going very deep here. But I don't know, maybe Coddle didn't have TP because they TP in the snap, but that's not nearly enough. He's going to kite to the outside, right? And realizes that, okay, I need to connect with my Doom. And they make a really cool play here. The Undying actually comes in with the portal at the perfect time. I mean, this is beautiful. And they're able to take out the Disruptor, right? Kills him off last second. Tries to get a Flag Bearer CS because this guy's that efficient. His courier does die to the tower, unfortunately, but eventually he's able to TP. And not only does he not TP home, he TPs to the Wisdom Rune, which is beautiful, incredible awareness. From there, key gameplay on Rubik is hoping that your mid dies and kills himself, because if they do that, you get to farm the mid lane. Nah, but jokes aside, I mean, you do actually want to farm mid as much as you can. You can see he's like kind of farming mid in front of the Kunkka's face. I mean, in pubs, here's what I recommend you do. If your mid laner is some hero that can jungle effectively, ask them to rotate or jungle, because honestly they can, and it's reasonably efficient. Now at minute 10, they actually make a major movement to the bottom side of the map. He isn't level 6 yet. This is definitely a game where Save is slightly underleveled. Low level 5 at minute 10 is definitely somewhat underleveled, but he's gonna sap a bit of XP, which is good. Please be greedy, guys. Like, if you're playing support, I'm not saying you have to farm the open lane, okay? In this clip here, he doesn't. He actually makes the decision to stay bottom, which I found interesting. Right? I definitely found it kind of weird because of the fact that usually you see the support go mid. You don't see the Kunkka TP mid here, Right, you see the support go mid, but Kunkka saw an opportunity to pressure the AM, and on top of that, I think he wants to enable the Doom to take this tower. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but Doom is best as a +1 hero. Doom is a hero that often needs a stun to do stuff, right? Because if you have a stun, you can Doom and then stun. If Doom doesn't have a stun, he often Dooms and then can't catch up. So he stays in the area, gets the tower, and now can take the portal, and I love this, right? Because after you take the tier 1 tower, if you actually read that the enemy is making a movement to your safe lane, you can portal in and help out. And that's exactly what they do, right? He's going to portal in, going to look to give some backup. Unfortunately, it was a pretty good original movement, so it was a little bit hard for BetBoom to save the Undying. But even though they couldn't save the Undying, it's fine, they can get some return kills. So I do love portal usage. I think it's the best thing you can do in Dota, guys. Like, one of the most underrated plays in Dota right now is just like spam hitting the portal and hitting the portal a ton, because of the fact that people don't expect it, right? Now, I'd say the last play that I really want to focus on is the smoke maneuver. I think this is a good play when you get ahead, guys, right? Because here's my problem with a lot of pub players, and this is something you can learn from. A lot of pub players, when they get ahead, what do? What they do is that they run up to a tower and they try to take a tower, or they run at the first person they see. Now, as you continue to gain MMR, people will show less and less and give you less and less free kills. I would say realistically, if you're below 3k MMR, it's very likely that when you're ahead, people will continue to just show in lanes, and you should just honestly kill the closest person if you're ahead. Like, I'm being real. However, as you gain MMR, people will understand, okay, I'm losing, I need to play more defensive, I need to farm the jungle, etc, etc. And so in situations like that, especially in games like this, if you look at the map, guys, if they walk up to mid, what's gonna happen? Someone's gonna get glimpsed and they're gonna mass TP. It's gonna be a disaster. So you wanna stay away from a situation where it's easy to get you glimpsed. So part of the reason this play is effective as well is that the Undying shows mid, Doom shows bottom, and Morphling shows top. So the enemy's perception of the game is that nothing is really happening. However, what does end up happening is they expect someone to defend the top tower. No one does, and so, okay, they're not gonna go top. They were looking for that play to synergize with the Morphling. They don't find it, that's fine. Instead, what they're gonna do is they're gonna actually invade the triangle. And they make a pretty psychotic move to just run straight up, but this is viable only because they're 5k net worth ahead. I definitely wouldn't recommend in most games just kind of YOLOing into the triangle with no vision without planting down a ward first, but to be fair, Undying did plant down a ward, so that's not that true, right? They had vision of the Lycan, and then they did actually make that play afterwards. And then finally, the last point I'd like to make for this video is the fact that sometimes you just do nothing. Obviously, Save isn't the perfect Dota player. No one is. And so it's hard to say if what he's doing is optimal. Maybe there is something he could be doing better. Maybe they could set up a Doom kill bottom if they use the portal properly with a Kunkka time TP or something like that. You don't really know. But I will say that a lot of players try to do too much, right? They try to make things happen all the time. And what ends up happening is they just kill themselves in random parts of the map, invading the jungle with no real information and the enemy team not showing, which could have actually happened recently. Or they burn through every single smoke of the seat that they have. And then when it comes time to contest Roche, or actually make a notable play on a major item timing, like with maybe your carry Scotty or a BKB, you don't even have smokes left. And so you can't just smoke, or just run into blind areas. Sometimes you gotta have some patience, read the map, maybe wait for an opportunity to Roche, or wait for someone to overextend. You can't always just run at them. And that is what people think. A lot of pub players will be like, we're 7k ahead, we're winning, because you don't really know you're 7k ahead, but they're like, we're winning, let's just run at the enemy. You don't have to do that. In fact, when you're winning, if you keep the map open, usually it's harder for them to farm because they can't kill the people farming alone anyway, and then there's no point in the map where someone can just free farm. And so as a support, it's important to understand what I just said, which is sometimes keeping the map open when you're winning is straight up better because it's harder for the enemy to invade. All you have to do is kind of read the Roche, right? If the enemy team is going to Roche, which honestly in pubs, they won't be, and then just look for the pickoffs afterwards. The X against Glimpse is incredible there. But yeah, they're going to take a fight bottom here. He ends up just dying to Lycan. This matchup's pretty garbage, so, try not to pick Rubik in the Lycan, but, as a support player, you don't really have that luxury, so that's kind of just useless advice. But all right, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this video about Save Dotes. Second place at the recent Dream League tournament. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.